Hello, my name is Astro-Drifter. One quick thing I want to address. You may see some subtle changes in these logs as they continue to come out. I still haven't quite nailed down how I want this log to look and feel, so the entries may vary from post to post. As time moves on, things will eventually smooth out. Anyway, let's get on with the log. As a recap, at the end of the last log, I announced that I was starting a new class about something called design patterns, which I had hoped to be the next big step in learning how to write better code for video games. I also shared my plan to use all of the things I learned to improve the horror game class that I abandoned in late February. Only a few things have happened since the last entry. I finished that class for starters, and while it was awesome at the start, towards the end of it I found myself scratching my head. A lot. All of the things we discussed made sense, but the issue is that I still don't quite understand how to do what we discussed outside of the class material. Nonetheless, I got a lot of new coding rules that I'm trying to follow, and they've been great for keeping my scripts short and understandable, for the most part. But that's my fault. All in all, this was a very good course, and I'd recommend it for anyone who's interested. Anyway, when I finished the design pattern class, I wasted no time and I jumped back into the horror course to find things that I could fix up. The hardest part with that was determining where to start. There are so many things that need to be redone. Nonetheless, I started to research, plot, plan, and test new systems for the game. I'm doing all of this thrilling work with the lovely thing I call my test bench. My test bench is a small bare-bones game that I use to test solutions and ideas. That way I can avoid making a mess within an actual project. Once the systems are good to go, then they get ported into an actual game, and I move on. So what I've managed to redo so far is the player's ability to interact with objects in the world. Mostly open doors, but a ton of things will follow as we make progress. Shout out to Rytech on YouTube. He put out an amazing tutorial. Without him, I would probably still be trying to get my interaction system up and running. The links to his channel are in the description below. The other thing I developed was a more reusable system for giving health to things. Now I can slap this script on anything in the world, be it a player, doors, walls, or other props. They can all get hurt, and they can all die. Oh, and I can throw things too. So, what am I doing right now? Right now, I'm taking on a new inventory system. It's one of the most foundational parts of a survival horror game, and I'm finding that there's no way to get around redoing it without completely scrapping what I started with. Luckily, there are tons of awesome YouTube videos on how to make one, but this is still going to be another tough obstacle. But I've been doing other things besides coding, like trying to keep up with my Blender practice. When I practice with Blender, I do a few small or maybe one mid-sized 3D projects that take maybe a few hours, and then sometimes I do a quick render with them. For example, last week I took a swing at making a creepy liminal space. I think I did alright. Sometimes my practice follows along with the course, other times it's just me taking a shot at something that I thought would be interesting or challenging. These things don't always get rendered, and sometimes they don't even get saved, but I always find the work so satisfying. Don't tell anyone I said this, but visual work is so much more fun than coding. So, what's happening next? I'm going to continue redoing the horror game course, and as soon as I have this inventory thing knocked out, I'm going to move on to another part. Maybe the dialogue system. Or I'll redo the weapons and the projectiles. Then I'm going to take on the AI, and then I'm going to take on the scariest thing of all, saving. I know very little about how a saving system works, so I'm kind of dreading what that's going to look like when I finally get there. There are still no updates for Project Peel. See, here's the funny thing. Project Peel is nowhere near as complex as this horror course is. And arguably, I could probably skip this fix-up altogether and really just dive back in. However, the reason why I'm bothering with the horror course is so that I can learn. You see, I don't want to have to experiment and reinvent things while I'm trying to actually do Project Peel. This way, when I start doing it again, I'll have a lot more tools in my belt, so to speak, and I'll be able to hopefully punch straight through development. Famous last words. And so, there you have it. As promised, I said these logs were going to be a lot shorter, and I'm glad that they have been, because this was a lot easier to write. I do have one last announcement that I'd like to make, though. When I mention or shout out any of the resources that I'm using, you can find links to them in the description below. If I remember to put them there, that is. While I'm not planning on doing any teaching myself, I do find it incredibly important to share these things. It helps the creators grow, and hopefully it also helps you. There are so many online resources available to us, but that means that there are always going to be ones that are better than others. And you never know where you're going to find that little tidbit of information that changes everything. So I plan on sharing all the places I find my tidbits. Be it a paid class, YouTube video, or even a forum, you'll find it in the description below. On that note, I think I'll bring this one to a close. Till next time, this is Astro-Drifter, signing off.